Welcome to today's Black Grandmothers Podcast, a space where we share facts, live realities, unshakable resilience, and yes, we'll share a little tea. We uncover the stories that shape who we are and where we're headed, a space where Black grandmothers take center stage. I'm your host, Tanya Jackson, proud mom, grandmother of 9, transitional life coach, founder of Voices of Black Grandmothers, the #1 platform for Black grandmothers. VOBG Cares, a nonprofit dedicated to kinship care, advocacy, and support for grandmothers raising grandchildren. I founded National Black Grandmothers Day, which is celebrated every February 7th, a day honoring the strength and sacrifice of Black grandmothers nationwide, and recently started the Boss Gigi's Network for those grandmothers that are starting and building businesses. So, I promised you an episode today. My grandmother raised me. And what I want to do is I want to save that episode for a time when I have a guest so we can have a conversation about that. So we can dive into, because, a lot of people were raised by their grandmothers. And I just think that that would be an awesome podcast session to do with a guest. So, the other thing is, with me starting this podcast, I was waiting for the perfect moment. I was waiting for the perfect setup. I had to have, I was waiting for the perfect background, the perfect space, the perfect microphone, everything. And I realized that life doesn't wait for perfect. So, but today I had an aha moment. And that aha moment, I realized that every Monday through Friday, I am going to pick my grandkids up from school. And that journey, that ride, things happen and, things that I want to talk about. So who knows? My car might be my perfect studio. We'll see. But what I did want to talk to you about today is, um, are you still waiting on perfect? And so let's talk about 7 reasons why you don't need to be perfect to get started. Get started in whatever your vision, your mission, your passion is, whatever that is. So, number 1, perfection is a moving target. Perfect doesn't exist, it's subjective and it constantly changes as you grow. What feels imperfect today may look brilliant tomorrow because you dared to start. Number 2, progress beats perfection. Starting gives you momentum, and momentum leads to mastery. Every step forward teaches you something. Waiting teaches you nothing. And, you know, every step that you take gets, you probably will never be perfect. It'll never be perfect. And that means that you're trying to reach a goal that you may never reach. But the progress that you make towards it, every step that you make towards that, just trying to reach that goal, um, it's a lesson in it. It's a lesson in it, and you'll see progress. And when you start seeing progress, you'll start believing in yourself. You'll start building trust in yourself. Number 3, fear disguised as perfectionism. Many people say they're waiting until it's perfect, but really they're stalling out of fear of judgment, failure, or not being enough. Action is the antidote to fear. I struggled a long time with fear of failure. But then I began to realize as I had those failures, I began to realize that those failures were lessons. And the lessons that I was learning was that it wasn't that my fear was so much in failing and not being able to recover. My fear began to be, what if I'm not good? Or what if what I'm putting out there is that good and people come? And I have an abundance of people that are coming, and I have more people than I think I can handle. Then what? Well, what happens is you elevate yourself. You elevate yourself to a point where now they're coming. Now I can get someone to help me to reach my goal. I can get me an assistant. I can get me a virtual assistant. I can get someone to help me carry this load because now you have the people that's coming. So a lot of people, rest in their fear because they think they're not going to succeed. And sometimes it's actually the opposite of that. Action is the antidote to fear. So if you take no action, you continue to have the fear. You got to take the steps. You got to step out and just try it. You've got to be at some point you got to tell yourself, you know what? I'm just going to start. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be near perfect. I'm going to learn from the mistakes that I made. And so, number four, imperfect action builds confidence. Confidence doesn't come before you start. It comes from doing the thing over and over, even messily. You don't get better by thinking about it. You get better by practicing it. And this has been pounded in my head over and over and over by people that I have, sat and listened to, speakers that I've listened to, and with them telling their story of how they got started and some of the stories that they tell about the mistakes that they made and the fact that they kept going only made them better. So basically, practicing, you get better by practicing. Small start, number five, small starts lead to big impact. Great businesses, books, podcasts, and movements are often started in someone's garage, basement, or car. And because that's a humbling experience, um, because it used to be, I think back when, starting a business was a big deal. It was, and it's still a big deal. But what has happened is we've pivoted into this space where, I used to think in order to have a business, you had to be a big corporation, you had to have millions of dollars, and time has changed. So, a lot of people are setting up, and especially after COVID, a lot of people are setting up in their homes. People started business when COVID hit, and we had to sit down and we were on lockdown in our homes. I probably created 4 or 5 different businesses. I created so much content. I created so many opportunities for business. My daughter was like, "Mom, you should just help people start their businesses." But the difference was what I was doing was for me, and it felt good doing it for me. And and so it's like I once we came out of COVID, I had all these ideas that I was able to. I sat down and I thought through and did logos and everything. And so some of the best businesses are started right, in your home, in your basement, in your bedroom, whatever. So the start doesn't define the finish. Your persistence does. Number 6, the cost of waiting. While you wait for perfect, someone else is already out there growing, learning, and serving. Every day of delay is a day of missed opportunity and unrealized potential. This is so true. I am sitting here I have, in the last couple of months, I've gone to different conferences and meetings and think workshops. I've got a workshop starting on Monday. And what I'm seeing is, how you have an idea of something to do something and you don't move on it and you're holding it and you're like, I got this great idea, but you don't make a step towards doing it. And then you get out here and you see all these people doing what the same idea that you had. These people are out here doing it. They're doing it their way and they're making millions of dollars. But you're still sitting saying, you know what, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna start next week. I'm gonna do this next week. How many times have you told yourself, I'm going to start? I'm gonna do it next week. I'll get to it. I'm going to do this, and you're convincing yourself, but you're not convincing yourself enough to actually get started. So I've seen that over and over, and sometimes with regret, where there's been a missed opportunities because it's like, man, I had that idea. I should have just went on with it when I thought about it. Number 7, done is better than perfect. A done project can be improved, refined, and scaled. A perfect idea that never launches will never impact anyone. So, how does this relate to grandmothers? How does this relate to this podcast? So, tying this into, I'm tying my talking points into grandparenting and grandmothers because grandmother is the space that I speak from. Um, it's what I've been building for the last 17, 18 years. The platform that I've been building, for the last 17, 18 years, the movement that I've been building for the last 17, 18 years has been focused around grandparenting when I became a grandparent. So one of the things is that there's generational pressure. And with generational pressure, many grandmothers grew up with the idea that they had to hold the family together without showing cracks. That superwoman mindset can make you feel like you must be flawless. And that's, when we talk about, wearing a cape and um, being that superwoman and never taking that cape off. A lot of us grew up with the pressure of we had to be perfect. We had to always be there. We had to always stand up. We had to be there for everyone else. And no one pressured us to be there for ourselves. No one did that. We were pressured to always be there for someone else. So, number 2 is perfection versus presence. Your grandchildren won't remember whether the house was spotless or dinner was perfect. They'll remember your laugh, your hugs, your encouragement. And that is so true, because it's like when you're telling stories and you're doing storytelling and you're storytelling with your grandkids. You know, people remember how you make them feel, and not necessarily what you tell them, but how you make them feel when you tell them. So, you know, trying to be perfect, trying to be perfect and not being present, or, not telling those stories. And even if those stories have flaws, your grandchildren will remember all of those stories that you tell them. And believe me, they're not going to be perfect stories. The trap of comparison, number 3. Social media and younger generations can make grandmothers feel like they need to keep up or do things without mistakes. The truth, Authenticity builds legacy, not perfection. And this is a big one because what we got to realize is that we have a lot of history. Being a grandparent, being older, we carry a lot of wisdom and a lot of history. But on the other side, like I was doing some research on Gen Z that, um, you know, the Gen Z, and I did some research on just to see how they think, how they think about work versus career versus entrepreneurship. I look, I watched them on social media in terms of what they're putting out, what they're talking about. I've looked at other podcasts, and, a lot of, you know, maybe over 50 feel like they're behind. They feel like they're behind. They're not tech savvy. They're not keeping up. Things are moving so quickly because we have all these different platforms to be on. We have all these different, we got AI, we got Chat GPT, we have all of these things. And what we do is when you look at comparing yourself to like the Gen Z generation, if you sit and watch how they do things, you'll understand that they are the first generation to be born in technology, pretty much, in the technology that we know now. So they're mastering it. These Gen Z is making millions of dollars, with AI, and they're figuring out different ways to do it. And you really got to stop and listen because a lot of us, especially, if we're starting businesses and we're starting, um, we want to be entrepreneurs. And the encouragement is it doesn't matter what age you are when you start. It doesn't matter. I'm 63. It doesn't matter when you start. The thing is that if you want longevity, if you want your business to grow, if you want your business to be a legacy and you're building it for what's to come in the future, you're going to have to learn some level of technology. You're going to have to learn about AI. You're going to have to learn about Chat GPT. And you got to learn it because the next big thing will be coming up soon. So it's like, and I will be on my platform. I started a school network. I will be, helping to teach some of those practices. And I'm going to be bringing people on the platform to also help teach and coach. I'll be coaching as well, teach and coach those that want to start businesses and working on that back end, putting your back end together. So, number 4, imperfect stories inspire. Grandmothers carry stories of mistakes, failures, and lessons learned. Sharing those real stories give grandchildren resilience and wisdom they can't get anywhere else. And that's where we come in when we share with Gen Z and millennials and the different, the generations that are coming, behind us. When we share our wisdom, and that's what we have to offer to them, because in essence, in order for them to grow, they have to know, how did it used to be. How, if I don't know how it worked before, how am I going to know how to make it better or change things? We don't want to do things the way that they did, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We're evolving. So, but the wisdom that we have is grounded in integrity, intelligence, resilience, and all of that. And that's what we can offer to those generations. Number 5, freedom from the perfect label. You don't have to be the perfect grandma. You can be a powerful grandmother, imperfect, growing, and still setting an example. So, you don't have to be that perfect grandmother. And, I tell my grandkids all the time, I'm not perfect, but my grandkids, they call me queen of the grandmas. And they ask me, am I famous? And the reason why they do that, because I'm leading by example. I'm setting an example for them. When I operate in integrity, when I operate in power, when I operate in resilience, they are drawn to that. They love that, you know. So perfection is a cage. Progress is freedom. You don't need perfect to start. You need courage to take the first step. So I'm going to challenge you, if it's something that you're starting, something that you haven't started, something that you keep putting on the shelf and saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to challenge you today to take that thing off the shelf and at least look at it. And first determine, is this really something I want to do? If it's really something that you want to do, I am going to be here to help you take the steps to get to that next level. I will be here to, have a conversation with you. Where do you want to go with this? Do you want to start? I have a lot of people that I've talked to that may have lost their job or want to leave their 9 to 5. I set up a coaching program to take people through the practical steps to get to the point that they need in order to launch that business. I am a product of a layoff. There's been a lot of layoffs this year, and that means that there's a lot of people that are unemployed. There's a lot of people that don't know if they're employable. There's a lot of people that have been on their jobs for years and years, and now they think that they're lost. I don't have any talent, skill, or anything like that. And I'm older. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I encourage you, if you want to start, just start. Just start. Start messy. Do it scared. And I will be letting you all know. I'm going to do a master class. And then after that master class, I'm going to do a 6-week practical steps from basically, your mind, working with your mindset in terms of where you're at with that project and working through the steps to get you to a point of execution. So this podcast will be full of raw, relatable, real talk, everyday lessons and encouragement for women chasing their dreams, for stories that need to be told, and practical strategies so you can rise, thrive, and build confidence. So, starting next week, join me in the car behind the computer. I might be in the airport. Who knows? Join me for more powerful episodes that fuel your journey, because perfection can't wait, but your voice, your story, and your legacy can't either. So what I want you to do is, subscribe to this podcast, share it with someone who needs the reminder. It's okay to start where you are. And I will see you next week.